They say you never really know the moment your life changes until you look back on it. For me, it wasn't a big explosion, it was a slow burn. I'm Sharon, and for as long as I can remember, my life has been intertwined with Emma's. We met in kindergarten. We survived middle school braces, high school heartbreaks, and the stress of college applications together. I practically lived at her house. I had my own toothbrush in the guest bathroom and a designated spot on their couch. Before I tell you how I ended up risking that entire friendship on a single rainy night, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, if you love messy, complicated love stories, you're going to want to stick around for this one. But over the last year, specifically my junior year of college, the dynamic shifted. The reason I found myself driving over to Emma's house 3-4 times a week wasn't just to gossip with my best friend. It was for her, Evelyn, Emma's mother. Evelyn wasn't like the other moms. She was magnetic. She had this elegance that seemed effortless. While other parents were complaining about getting old, Evelyn seemed to get more radiant. She was divorced, a successful interior designer, and she carried a kind of quiet sadness that I found myself desperate to understand. I caught myself watching her when she didn't know I was looking. The way she laughed at her own jokes, the way she would tuck a strand of dark hair behind her ear while reading. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was dangerous, but I couldn't stop. It happened on a Tuesday in late November. The weather was horrific, a relentless freezing rain that battered the roof and turned the windows into sheets of gray. I was over at their place, supposedly to study with Emma for finals, but Emma had been fighting a migraine all day. By 8 p.m., she couldn't take the light anymore. "I'm sorry, Sharon," Emma groaned, pressing a cool cloth to her forehead. "I think I'm going to pass out. Do you mind if I call it a night?" "No, go," I said, genuinely concerned, but feeling a spike of adrenaline I tried to suppress. "Sleep it off. I'll let myself out in a bit." Emma trudged upstairs, and I heard her bedroom door click shut. The house fell silent, save for the aggressive drumming of the rain against the glass. I was sitting on the plush rug in the living room, my textbooks spread out, but I wasn't reading. I was listening. I was waiting. A few minutes later, I heard the soft padding of bare feet on the hardwood floor. "Sharon, is that you?" I turned around. My breath actually hitched in my throat. Evelyn stood in the archway connecting the living room to the kitchen. She must have just showered. She was wearing a silk robe, a deep burgundy color that made her skin look like porcelain. Her hair, usually pinned up in a strict professional bun, was damp and loose, cascading over her shoulders in dark waves. She didn't look like a mom. She looked like a woman, a breathtaking woman. "Hi, Evelyn," I managed to say. My voice sounded deeper than usual. "Emma went to bed. Migraine." Evelyn sighed, walking into the room. She didn't turn the main lights on, leaving us in the warm, dim glow of the floor lamps. "That poor girl. She pushes herself too hard." She looked at me, her hazel eyes scanning my face. "And you? You're still studying? In this weather?" "I was just packing up," I lied. I made no move to pack up. "Don't be ridiculous," Evelyn said, her voice dropping an octave. "Look at that rain. You can't drive in that. You'll hydroplane before you get out of the driveway." She walked past me toward the kitchen. "I'm opening a bottle of red. Join me. Please? I hate drinking alone." It was the please that got me. It was soft, vulnerable. I left my books on the floor and followed her. The kitchen was expansive, smelling of vanilla and rain. Evelyn poured 2 generous glasses of wine and slid one across the marble island to me. We sat on the bar stools, facing each other. Usually, our conversations were surface level. How are your classes? How are your parents? But tonight felt different. The air was thick, heavy. "You know," Evelyn started, tracing the rim of her glass with a manicured fingernail, "I used to love storms like this. When Emma's father was still here, we'd sit on the porch and watch the lightning." She paused, taking a sip. Now, the silence in this big house is loud. I looked at her, seeing the cracks in her composure. You get lonely, I stated. It wasn't a question. Evelyn looked up, surprised by my boldness. Desperately, she admitted. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Is that pathetic? To be a 40-something woman with a successful career and a beautiful daughter and still feel completely hollow? It's not pathetic, I said, firmly. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the cool marble. You know, it just means you have a heart that isn't being used enough. Evelyn's eyes widened slightly. She held my gaze, and for the first time, she didn't look at me like Emma's friend. She looked at me as an equal. You've grown up, Sharon, she whispered. I feel like I blinked and the little girl with the skinned knees disappeared. Now there's this intelligent, beautiful young woman in my kitchen. The compliment hit me like a physical blow. I felt the heat rise up my neck. I've always admired you, Evelyn, I confessed, the wine giving me courage I shouldn't have had. I don't think you realize how amazing you are. Evelyn set her glass down. Her hand moved across the counter, inching toward mine. When her fingers brushed against my knuckles, an electric shock went straight up my arm. She didn't pull away. She covered my hand with hers. Her skin was cool, soft. Sharon, do you know how you look at me? My heart stopped. She knew. She had to know. How do I look at you? I asked, my voice trembling. I think, Evelyn continued, stepping closer so she was standing right in front of my stool. I swiveled to face her. My knees brushed against the silk of her robe. I think, Evelyn continued, stepping closer, that you look at me the way I've been trying not to look at you for months. The world tilted on its axis. You have? I choked out. Evelyn nodded slowly. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly as she cupped my cheek. Her thumb brushed over my bottom lip. Sharon, she murmured. I told myself I was crazy, that I'm imagining the tension, that I'm too old for you, that you're Emma's friend. Age is just a number, I whispered, reciting the cliché because my brain had short-circuited. And Emma is sleeping. Yes, she is. The distance between us vanished. I didn't know who moved first, but suddenly her hands were in my hair and my hands were gripping the lapels of her robe. When her lips met mine, it wasn't tentative. It was hungry. It was the kind of kiss that had been built up over months of stolen glances and accidental touches. She tasted like red wine and desire. I groaned into the kiss, pulling her closer, my legs hooking around her waist to bring her flush against me. It felt forbidden, which only made it hotter. Every nerve ending in my body was on fire. For a moment, I forgot everything. I forgot about the storm outside. I forgot that my best friend was sleeping directly above us. I forgot that this woman had known me since I was 6. All that existed was Evelyn. The softness of her lips, the desperate way she held on to me like she was drowning and I was air. Creak! The sound was subtle, but in the quiet house, it sounded like a gunshot. A floorboard upstairs. We broke apart instantly, chests heaving, eyes wide with panic. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for the sound of a door opening, waiting for Emma to call out, "Mom? Sharon?" Silence returned. Just the rain. It was just the old house settling in the wind. But the spell was broken. The reality of what we had just done crashed down on us. Evelyn took a step back, her hand flying to her mouth. Her lips were swollen, her eyes dark. She looked terrified. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Sharon, we can't." I slid off the stool, my legs shaking. "Evelyn?" "No," she said, turning away, wrapping her robe tighter around herself as if to shield herself from what we just did. "Emma, if she ever found out, it would destroy her." "I know," I said. My heart was breaking and racing at the same time. I know. She turned back to me, and the look in her eyes wasn't regret. It was longing, painful, sharp longing. You have to go, she said, her voice cracking. Please, Sharon, go before I make a mistake and ask you to stay the night. I gathered my things in a daze. I didn't say goodbye. I couldn't. I ran out to my car, the freezing rain soaking me instantly, but I didn't feel the cold. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I stared up at the house. The kitchen light flickered off. Then, a moment later, I saw a silhouette in the upstairs window. Not Emma's room, Evelyn's room. She was watching me leave. I started the engine, my whole body vibrating. I had just crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. I was in love with my best friend's mother, and judging by the way she had kissed me, she was in love with me too. I put the car in reverse, knowing one thing for certain. This wasn't over. This was just beginning.